We had some technical difficulties, but we are back in action. Going over to, we just talked about our quarterback sleeper of the week. So, Joe, who is your quarterback stinker for week 10?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with last week's darling and go with C.J. Stroud. He had a great last week. We talked about the matchup with the Buccaneers and how good it is. But I think he's in for a potential stinker this week. Against the Bengals defense on the road. Lou Anarumo's got that defense playing. It's a tough place to play. I think the edge rushers are gonna be able to get to C.J. Stroud and make him feel a little uncomfortable. And I feel like Stroud is almost reminding me of the Goff situation last year with the home and road splits. Stroud has been far better at home this year. He's on the road against Cincinnati. We'll see, but I think he could have a down week, especially compared to what we saw last week. But, compare him to guys like, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Howell, I'd be playing over Stroud. But Geno's kind of where I draw the line. I'd be willing to still roll out Stroud over Geno at this point.
Yeah, Stroud's an interesting one. People are going to be riding high on him because of what he did last week. But we saw Lou Anarumo. He's one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, I think. Now, it'll be interesting with the Bengals not having Jamar Chase or T. Higgins for that game. I don't know. It could be a trap game for the Bengals. So it could be I think it could be a low-scoring game, to be honest with you. This looks like a defensive matchup to me. So I'm with you. I'm fading Stroud on this one.
Yeah, hopefully with those guys out, it just means more Joe Mixon.
I know you'd be happy about that.
Yeah.
So head over to the running backs. My smash play of the week is Javonte Williams. The Denver Broncos are coming off a bye week. So many of you may have forgotten what Javonte did in 2 weeks ago when he had a career high in rushing attempts against the Chiefs with 27 attempts. The Bills get gashed by the run. I can say that because I watch them every week. And Sean Payton has had a whole week to scheme against these Buffalo Bills. To address their rush defense woes, they went ahead and signed Linval Joseph. I just don't know how much impact he's truly going to have. Over the past 2 weeks, the Bills have allowed the opposing running back to be an RB1, and I expect much of the same this week for Javonte Williams. I'm playing him instead of Saquon Barkley against the Cowboys. And I think, in my view, he's a top 5 running back, to be honest with you, this week. I think he's going to do really, really well. I like him better than Gibbs against the Chargers because I'm concerned about the Montgomery and Gibbs split. I know Gibbs has been doing really well, and I'm not starting Bijan Robinson. I'm going to go ahead and start Javonte Williams. It's a decent matchup for him against the Cardinals, but just can't trust that running game.
Man, it feels good this week, Steve. We're actually got the Broncos on here for a smash play. It's been a while. It feels great, and I agree with you. I mean, I think as long as Sean Payton has the same plan he did this past game against the Chiefs, where the Broncos actually ran the ball 40 times, certainly playing a lead with a lead helps that. So they're gonna have to get a lead against Buffalo, but hopefully they just pound that. Like you said, it is a good matchup for Javonte Williams, and we know they use more than one back, but Javonte was really the bell cow against the Chiefs. So definitely like seeing that. And I agree. I think he's got potential to be that top 5 running back.
Broncos are really playing them at the right time. The Bills, that is. So going over to the sleeper for running back, Joe, who do you got for the sleeper?
I feel like the Bills are going to be angry, though, about losing that game to the Bengals. I don't like facing teams off a loss either, though. But my sleeper running back is Jaylen Warren, Steve. I know. We talked about this guy in the offseason. But look, last week against the Tennessee Titans, who had been pretty tough to run on, he received double-digit carries for the first time, and he rushed it 11 times for 88 yards. And, Jaylen Warren has simply just been the better back thus far for the Pittsburgh Steelers over Najee Harris. And he's also the clear receiving back as well. This week they face the Packers, who are in the top 10 at allowing fantasy points to the running back position. I like the matchup. I think this is the week. Maybe we'll even see Jaylen Warren just get more work than Najee Harris. I know Najee's been looking a little bit better, but Jaylen Warren's still the more explosive player, and I think this is his potential to have a big week this week. And I'd be playing him over, guys like James Cook, David Montgomery, but where I draw the line to the point you mentioned Javonte, I definitely wouldn't start him over him, but it's going back to the Devontae and Gibbs against the Chargers. The Chargers have actually been pretty good against the run. So I don't know if I would really even want to be starting either of those guys.
Yeah, I actually think this is more of a Najee game, to be honest with you. I know you really like Warren, but I actually thought about putting Najee into consideration for our conversation today.
For your smash play?
No, not my smash play. I'm just saying as far as the conversation around sleepers. Okay. But it's interesting. Warren, someone made a comment on Twitter on this night, and I think it's very interesting. And they basically said Warren is basically like Austin Eckler light. And I'm like, that's so interesting. If he ends up becoming Austin Eckler, I mean, Austin Eckler was an undrafted running back. I mean, he really just became who he was today. He wasn't like this from the beginning, So it'd be very interesting to see if Warren ever became that type of player. I don't know. He's pretty explosive.
Yeah, I mean, that's what has gotten me excited about him. Even in the offseason, because people were comparing him to Austin Eckler. Similar situation because Eckler came in and they had Melvin Gordon ahead of him. And now there's Najee, ahead here. So it's they are in very similar situations. But then we saw once Eckler got that chance, I mean, he turned into what he turned into.
So my stinker for the week is running back Saquon Barkley. Tommy DeVito is in line to start for the New York Giants, which means to me that the Cowboys are going to stack that box and make it so Barkley just has a miserable day. Dallas is 8th best against running backs. And without Waller, I just think this could be a bloodbath. I know he's a name, but I just can't start him this week. I would rather start Ramondre Stevenson versus the Colts, Rashad White versus Tennessee, and even Gus Edwards versus Cleveland. I know it's a rough matchup for him, but I actually would still rather play Gus because I just trust that offense more. I just feel like the Giants are just going to be in for a butt whooping.
They could, but I mean, there is really only one guy, and that is Barkley. And he could just be the ultimate volume. But I get it. The matchup, it definitely isn't good. And I honestly think the Giants could be better off with Danny DeVito in there instead of versus Tommy. But that's another story. But
Did Barkley, I say Danny?
No, you said Tommy, but I'm saying they'd probably. I mean, if they threw Danny in there, it'd be the same result.
Oh boy.
Because Tommy DeVito sucks. But Saquon Barkley is the only portion of the offense. They're only saving grace. So, he's going to get the volume. That's the only thing that could possibly save him from stinking end of the week.
So, Joe, heading over to the wide receivers, who was your smash play for wide receiver this week?
Yeah, you talked about it with your sleeper quarterback, Steve, going with DeAndre Hopkins. He gets to go up against that Tampa Bay defense. We saw CJ Stroud, Tank Dell and company just absolutely shred and have a monster day. And Tampa Bay is allowed the second highest PPR points per target and receiving yards per game to the perimeter wide receivers. And, Hopkins definitely should be able to smash and finish inside the top 5 at the wide receiver position this week. And I'd be looking to start him over guys like Ayuk, Mike Evans. But I think, once you get towards Keenan Allen and those type of guys, kind of where I draw the line this week.
Yeah, I love this pick by you. He would have been a guy I probably would have put in the smash too, because you know how much I like Will Levis. So great move on your part. I think he's going to do really well.
Yeah, and I'm not the biggest DeAndre Hopkins fan either.
No, you're not.
I mean, for me to put him as my smash, it's just the matchup's there.
So going over to my sleeper play for wide receiver, I'm going with DK Metcalf. Metcalf has not had a good year this season. He's been very disappointing. He currently ranks as the wide receiver 47 on the season. I got to be honest, that really surprised me when I saw that. He's yet to have over 100 yards this season and only has 2 touchdowns on the year. The Seahawks go up against the Washington Commanders, who have allowed the 3rd most points to opposing receivers. Not only that, but the Commanders have a reduced pass rush now after they've traded away both Chase Young and Montez Sweat on the edge. I think this offense is going to have a bounce-back week. I'm playing Metcalf ahead of Devontae Adams versus the Jets, Deebo Samuel at Jacksonville, and Chris Olave at Minnesota.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, DK Metcalf's definitely been disappointing, but I do like the matchup for him. And, I think these are kind of just get right game for the Seahawks in general. They had a rough week last week against Baltimore, put up the 3 points. So I honestly like Metcalf, Lockett, and just Seahawks offense as a whole, really. As long as, except for really Geno, I mean, he's yet to really, he's been finishing like his highest finish was like quarterback 12, maybe. Like he hasn't even been finishing in the teens. So he's been in the 20s a lot. So, but I think the pieces should have good games.
So going over to your stinker, Joe, who is it for week 10?
Yeah, I'm going with Amari Cooper. He was the wide receiver 4 last week. But obviously going against the Baltimore Ravens, I think he's in line for the stinker this week. Baltimore's allowed the lowest PPR points per target and only 2 touchdowns to receivers this season, Steve. I know you like to start Cooper. It's not looking good. And, Cooper's truly been touchdown dependent, really to have like a top 12 wide receiver finish thus far. When he doesn't score touchdowns, his finishes are a lot lower. So I don't expect him to get that touchdown. So expect him to finish lower than especially where he finished last week, but just in general. And I'd be looking to start, Cortland Sutton over him. And it's tough for me to say, Steve, but I think I'd even be willing to take a flyer on George Pickens over him. And you know how I feel about him.
Wow.
And, but I would, if I came down to it, Jacoby Myers are where I'm drawing the line. I'd be willing to roll Cooper out over Jacoby.
I think the big question with him will be, is Marlon Humphrey going to be shadowing him? You and I were just talking about this, today, and I saw in a tweet that Marlon Humphrey has basically had maybe a few targets and has maybe led he's let basically nothing by him. I mean, he has been unbelievable. Now I think he was limited in practice. So if he doesn't play, then that I think completely changes everything. So I would watch that. But I mean, the numbers show. The only thing is it's a divisional matchup, and you never know what divisional matchups. But I think everything that from the stats wise, everything points to your direction that he's going to stink this week.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to go with I trying to go with somebody. I was thinking about Devontae, but it's like Devontae hasn't even been good enough lately to even call him a stinker. So it's like, even though he's still ranked as the wide receiver 17 on the week, I don't know how. He hasn't even sniffed that in weeks.
He definitely wouldn't play him against the Jets. That's a bad move.
I mean, that's a bad matchup. So I was looking, Cooper was wide receiver 4. I think he's definitely going to finish below that. So
going over the tight end position, my smash play for tight end, and boy, I've been waiting to do this for the longest time, and I finally have my opportunity. So listen up, Joe. My smash play of the week is Dalton Kincaid. He's starting to shine with who I thought he was going to be. I had him as one of my guys. Since Knox was placed on IR, he's become the number 2 in the offense, the clear number 2, I would say. Over the past few weeks, his targets have been 11, 7, and 8. The Denver Broncos have allowed the 3rd most points for opposing tight ends. And even though I say not to look at the total season, look at the past few weeks, I can say this with confidence, and we'll see if you agree with me. But we know that those Denver Broncos linebackers struggle in coverage. So I think that Kincaid is going to have a huge day. I think he's going to be the best tight end of the week this week. So I think he's going to be better than Laporta at the Chargers, better than Andrews versus the Browns, and Hawkinson versus the Saints. Give me Kincaid this week as the number 1 tight end.
That's pretty bold, but I feel like it's also not hard to do, man. It's tight ends are quite the crapshoot. So, if he finds the end zone, he's got an even better chance. I will say, though, the Broncos, I know the linebackers aren't good in coverage, but it maybe they used Jaquan McMillan on him because he likes to line up in the slot, and we found our slot corner, and he's been playing a lot better. I mean, this past game, Kelsey even didn't even do that well. First matchup he did, though. Obviously, Packers didn't really target Musgrave in that game before Kareem Jackson knocked him out, too. But
well, you're not wrong about Jaquan McMillan.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then I think I almost was this close to calling it a Gabe Davis game because I think Surtain may shadow Diggs. So to me, it's going to be either Kincaid or Gabe. And Gabe got 0 last week. And the week prior to that with the Bucs, they really involved him in the offense, and the offense was moving at a really good clip. So it could. I where I could go wrong is this could be a Gabe game and not a Kincaid game, but Kincaid has been getting very consistent. If nothing else, he'll be a tight end one. He may not be the number one, but you got to start him.
Yeah. He's going to be a tight end one for sure. I mean, he's just been getting a lot of targets and definitely should find space in the Bronco zones between the linebackers, and especially if they get him out to the edge.
So, Joe, who do you have as your sleeper tight end for Week 10?
Yeah, it's kind of tough for me to try to find a guy to take, but I'm going to go with Gerald Everett. He's going against Detroit, which has been the 31st ranked defense against opposing tight ends. Palmer's out on IR right now. Chargers need someone else to step up and help Keenan Allen. Quentin Johnston, I really was expecting more things out of him, but just hasn't been the case thus far. They haven't really got him involved, haven't really seen him do much. So maybe that is Gerald Everett. He's been coming off an injury in himself. But I think this could be a week. I don't expect much, but I think he's got a potential to sneak into the top 12 as far as the tight ends go. I'd be comfortable starting over David Njoku, both Atlanta tight ends. That's Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith. But I draw the line at Logan Thomas.
So you're telling me that I should go ahead and drop Jonnu Smith and pick up Gerald Everett because I've got Travis Kelce on bye?
I mean, I would. It's tough because Jonnu Smith, Arizona's been pretty good against tight ends, but at the same time, 3 out of the last 4 red zone targets have gone to Jonnu Smith. So if he gets a touchdown, he could be good, but I feel like Everett could have more opportunities than him, though.
Interesting. I like the play. He's been a nobody this year.
Yeah.
Could start getting, starting to be better here. So going over to, or you got something else to say?
I was just going to say, we think this game's a shootout, and, there's really not really that number 2 opportunity in that offense right now. So I think it could be Everett, but to your point, I think Jonnu Smith could still be okay. I don't know if you'd need to do that, but I guess if you're chasing the ceiling play and chasing more points, I think Everett's got the higher ceiling than Smith this week.
So going over to the stinker play for tight end, I'm going to go with David Njoku. So I agree with you, Joe. I know Njoku has had back-to-back touchdowns in the previous 2 weeks, but I believe the streak is going to come to an end against the Baltimore Ravens. Look, the Ravens have had one of the best defenses in all the NFL, and especially against the tight end. They've allowed the 4th fewest receiving yards opposing tight ends and only 1 touchdown on the entire year. Browns, I think, are going to have their hands full, especially with Deshaun Watson back under center. It's against this Baltimore defense. I would suggest looking elsewhere for tight end. I would be starting Logan Thomas at Seattle, Trey McBride versus Atlanta, and Luke Musgrave at Pittsburgh over Njoku this week.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, plus, Sean Watson doesn't always seem to look his way either. Sometimes, no. But he doesn't really tend to involve him that much.
He does not, Joe. If you have any questions for Start Sits, now is the time. Put in the comments below. Joe and I are here for you to give you some advice, trying to help you to win your matchups. So go ahead and put in the comments below. That's what we're here for. So, Joe, before we conclude the show here, what is your stack for Week 10?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. In that matchup we've been talking about, the shootout game with the Chargers.
Very nice, Joe. Mine, we've been talking about a lot as well. I'm going to go with my stack as quarterback Will Levis and wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. I could see a very similar result as they did when his debut was for Levis against those Bucs. We talked about it enough on this video today. I think he's going to do very well.
Yeah, hard to disagree with you there. I don't know if DeAndre will get the 3 touchdowns, but I definitely, he's definitely got the great matchup, as we've been saying.
Kevin, welcome to the show. Thanks for stopping by. We got a comment from you. All right, then. 0.5 PPR, DJ Moore or Zach Charbonnet? Kenneth Walker did not practice today. That's good news. I did not realize that. I know the Seahawks, man, they're stingy when it comes to their injury stuff. You just never know. What do you think about that one, Joe? Yeah,
that's very interesting. With it being half-point PPR, I I might be willing to go with Zach Charbonnet here, especially if the Kenneth Walker thing keeps trending to him not practicing and, maybe even him limiting his touches and could be more of a Zach Charbonnet game. And then it's just, I don't know, tough to put your trust in Tyson Bagent tonight as well tonight.
Yeah, boy, the obvious would tell you to go DJ Moore, right, based on the player recognition. My concern is I don't know how good I just don't feel that great about him this week. We talked about, is Bagent going to give him enough targets and enough production? If Walker is out, I think Charbonnet has a smash week, but you won't really know that until tomorrow, because if he doesn't practice tomorrow, usually if you don't practice on Friday, then that's a telltale that, okay, you're not going to be playing. And yeah, you're right. DJ Moore last week was poor. So I don't know what your record is. That might also influence me a little bit. If you got to start stacking up wins, you got to make sure that you're going to do well. I'd roll the dice and go with Charbonnet. I think that's the play. I don't know which way you're leaning, but that's I agree with you, Joe. I think I'd go with Charbonnet as well.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like type of matchup you got. If you got a tough matchup that you really need to win, like you said, your record too need wins.
Yeah, he needs wins. So you definitely go with the Charbonnet play. I think
I'd shoot for the more points out of Charbonnet in that higher ceiling, because I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get out of DJ Moore. You could have another poor week, or this could also. Thursday nights are so wild too. It's like either really is feast or famine. I feel like for your players,
it really is. Oh. This is interesting, though. He said he was leaning that way, but he has Jaylen Warren as a backup. That's interesting. You love Warren this week, Joe.
Yeah, I do like Warren. I mean, he's got a great matchup against the Packers. I think you're in good shape, Kevin. I don't think you got to go and play DJ Moore tonight. Whether or not you go Charbonnet or Jaylen Warren, I like those two options better.
Yeah, that's nice. You've got Warren as a pivot, right? I mean, I would say I'd start Charbonnet if Walker's out. If Walker's in, then I'm probably playing Warren. Yeah,
I would agree with that, just because even Jaylen Warren has been still battling with Najee Harris in that backfield as well. And he got double-digit touches, for the first time last week. So I was hoping that trend continues, but if it doesn't...
You're welcome, Kevin. Thanks for joining the show. I don't believe we've seen you before, so thanks for stopping by. You're always welcome. This is what we're here for, to be able to give you some advice. Well, this is the last call, Joe. If anyone else has any comments, now is the time. Joe, we're going to be getting close to this game. All right, who do you think is going to win while we wait and see if anyone else has any comments?
Yeah, I like the Bears to win. For whatever reason, it's been seeming like the home teams usually win the Thursday nighters, and I think they've got 2 wins already. Panthers are sitting as the 1-win team. I don't trust Bryce Young to go on the road in Chicago tonight and get a win.
Panthers are going to win. I disagree with you 100%. This would be a mockery of the Panthers. You trade. This is the team you traded up with to take Bryce Young. They're playing Bagent. And Panthers have a better team than the Bears. I mean, this is a yucky matchup.
Are you sure about that? Brian Burns isn't playing. I don't know if the Panthers are truly a better team.
That is interesting, Kevin. I didn't think about the DJ Moore revenge game. That is really interesting, the revenge game there. If it was Fields, I'd be all about it. That's the thing. I would be all about it. But without Fields, I just don't know. But that's interesting. I don't know. Do you think they scheme the ball up more for DJ Moore because it is a revenge game?
It's just a tough thing. Like, I get there's the revenge game narrative, but do the coaches really believe in that? Will they? I don't know. Like you said, I mean, if this was Justin Fields, I would absolutely. There wouldn't be a question. You're playing DJ Moore tonight, but with the secret agent, man, I just don't know.
We might want to pick up the phone and call Dustin Ludke, our friend, see if it's DJ Moore's birthday. Because if it's DJ Moore's birthday, then maybe he will perform even better.
If it was DJ Moore's birthday, Dustin would say it'd be like a lock for a touchdown.
Oh, man. That is interesting. I didn't think about that, Kevin. So, But yeah, I think the Panthers are going to win. Honestly, I think Bryce Young. They have to win this game. I mean, the Panthers organization traded up. They thought Bryce Young was their guy. It would look horrible for that organization to lose to the Chicago Bears and Tyson Bagent. I don't know. They're going to pull all the stops out tonight. I think Panthers.
Yeah, interesting. I like
What
the
is the
Bears.
line tonight? What do you know? What the line is tonight?
I can check it here.
Yeah, I don't have my phone on me. I'm curious what the line is.
Let's see. It's got to be. I mean, the Bears got to be favored by at least 1.5, just because they're the home team.
Yeah, probably.
Chicago by 3.5, Steve. So you would take the Panthers.
Take the Panthers.
Plus 3.5.
Take the Panthers plus 3.5. But hey, if you enjoyed this video, we're a relatively new channel, so go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We've got videos all season long. You're not going to want to miss out, including the off season. We don't stop at the regular season. We keep going, especially those who like to play Dynasty. We do IDP. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week for Week 11 starts and sits. Until next time.